7 tiny things women do that instantly scare men off. And there was some interesting stuff in here I really hadn't heard before. Thank you so much for joining us on Second Act TV. Welcoming back Robert Manni, our very own Guys Guy, the host of Guys Guy Radio and TV right here on YouTube, and the author of The Guys Guide to Love. Robert, thanks for being here again.
My pleasure, Silka. Thanks for having me back.
Well, Robert, as most of our viewers know by now, you are our Guys Guy, and you let us women have it straight when we have these questions and things we need to know, which is 7 tiny things women do that instantly scare men off. So let's just jump right into it and see what you think about these things. The first one here, interesting, I think, you obsess about your body and you're constantly critiquing, oh, I'm getting fat, I have this, I have that, and that's something that can be very annoying.
Well, I'm going to be contrarian there. If that's something that the person I'm with is complaining about, that means they care about their appearance, they care about their body and their fitness. So I'm going to give them a pass on that, because if you're going to obsess about something, at least that's something that should be healthy. You want to look good, you want to feel good, you want to stay in shape. So I don't have a problem with that. I dated a woman who was she was heavily into fitness, weights and everything. And she was beautiful. And we'd go out to eat. And she'd just talk about different body parts all the time. And after a while, it got a little bit old, but I didn't mind because she was so hot. So it depends. Now, if somebody's just insecure and they're not doing anything and they're just complaining about that they're all lumpy and whatever, do something about it. If you're doing something about it, then you can talk about it more than if you're not doing anything and you're just complaining. That's not attractive.
Well, that's a great point. I really haven't thought about it. When I read this, the first thing that came to my mind, and I have girlfriends like this that are constantly picking themselves apart. Oh, I need a facelift. I need this. And they're beautiful. And it's like, just shut up. So that's what came to my mind is, where that does. It's like, I don't even want to talk to you. So, but you raised a good point. If you do obsess, I guess it depends on the degree, at least you care about it. So good point, Robert. We'll let that one go. Number 2 here, along, kind of the same lines here, you obsess about food, meaning that you overthink every decision. Like you can't, when you go out and eat, you can't make a decision what you're going to eat because this might be too fattening or this or that, but you just obsessed with food decisions.
Yeah, that could be a little, I don't want to say annoying, but I mean, if we're adults here, so you should be able to know how to realize that if you're out to eat, you want to indulge, you're on a date or you're with your partner, you want to have some fun, you can indulge a little bit. That's why you're going out to eat. If it's just like you go out to eat for every meal, of course, that's a little bit different. So if this is a constant thing where every single time you go out, there's this haranguing about what should I have this or that, and well, maybe I'll have the fish, but if the fish is cooked in butter, and then maybe if it's what type of fish is it, just become it can be very tedious. Again, if you're obsessing about something about your appearance or what food to eat because it's good for you and health related, I kind of give that a pass unless it becomes just never ending.
Yeah, and it's not a disorder, but that's a whole other topic.
Right.
Number 3 here, you consistently doubt yourself. I mean, that would drive me crazy, anybody that's constantly doubting themselves, because what you eventually, especially in a relationship, become an emotional burden.
Yeah, because if you're doubting yourself, then your partner is going to start doubting you. Theoretically, if you connect the dots on that. So I would think that's a lot more of a red flag than the other two that we discussed, because it's insecure. If you doubt yourself, you have some insecurities, better for worse. Do we all have insecurities? Of course, but you don't want to make it an issue where you're constantly questioning yourself or doubting yourself, because then you have some work to do. And the other person, your partner or your date or whatever, can be helpful, but you don't want to burden them with all of your insecurities. So I would be careful to kind of keep that under wraps as best you can.
Yeah, and definitely some people definitely have the ability to do that, constantly doubting yourself. And again, it's something that you may not even realize that you're doing. But when you're constantly expressing doubt, you make a secure person feel uncomfortable, and
Yeah.
that's self-defeating. So, again, something
And
to think
no
about.
fun either.
Yeah, exactly. Number four here, another one. You constantly seek approval. You have validate, I think they call it validation behavior or validating behavior, but you constantly need approval of, well, in this case, of your boyfriend or guy you're dating, from other people.
Yeah, that's also it's insecurity. It's insecurity, obviously,
Yeah.
and everybody has some aspects of insecurity, but you don't want to make it so there's too much pressure on your partner where they constantly have to reassure you, because that just says something about you where you're insecure and you're relying on
Mm-hmm.
somebody else's opinion to make you
Mm-hmm.
feel you have value, and that's about you. We all have things to work on, but we don't want to throw it on the other person and make it their responsibility to make us feel good about ourselves. Of course, we like
Mm-hmm.
compliments, we like positive affirmations, and we like encouragement, but you don't
Mm-hmm.
want to make it that the other person has to constantly be validating you,
Right.
because you should have enough confidence in yourself that you don't necessarily need that.
For our audience, I would like your feedback on, do you think this is more of a male or a female issue? Because men do this
Mm-hmm.
too, maybe in
Sure.
a different way. But yeah, I'd be interested to hear that, because seeking approval can be very, very annoying. I think I actually do that sometimes. So I'm going to look at myself on that one as well. Number five, this was interesting. I had to read this a couple of times to see what they meant, but you're hiding out, meaning, you're not going after your dreams, you're playing it safe. I wasn't quite sure exactly what they meant by that, but that's the way I'm interpreting that.
Um, I don't necessarily think that's a turnoff. It's kind of understandable that a lot of people avoid, getting busy, doing the things that they need to do.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess if you're a partner to somebody like that, and you notice that, and you're super busy, you're going to think it could be a little tiring after a while, and you want to say like, "Hey, come on." So I think if you're on the other side of the table, you can say, "How's this going? How's this project going? Or have you thought
Mm-hmm.
about that? You had mentioned something a couple of months ago about you were
Mm-hmm.
going to do this. Have you gotten started yet? Do you need whatever?" So there's ways to work with that. If it's just a never ending where nothing's happening, then you have to say, okay, if this is how this person is wired, does this work for me?
Yeah, I think that people also, if you start too many projects and never finish anything, I think that may fall under that. That also gets just very burdensome, I think, on
Mm-hmm.
the other person, because you're always expressing that you're going to do something, but you never finish.
Right.
The other part I didn't really think about that is maybe you hide yourself, you hide your emotions, you hide your opinions. Women do have a tendency to do that, especially at the beginning of a relationship, and yeah, that's annoying.
Yeah, I think you don't want it to be. I would ask myself, as this person, am I doing something that the person isn't expressing their opinion because they think I'm going to judge them? So I would take it more about something about me. Okay, is there anything I can do if I want to hear more? Or I'd ask questions, ask open-ended questions. How do you feel about this or that? To see if I can draw them out a little bit. But if
Mhm.
they're just somebody who's like shy, quote unquote shy, and they
Mhm.
don't express their opinion or their feelings or whatever, either that's how they're built or they don't want to share with me. So you
Mhm.
have to, if I was interested, I do my best to draw them out. And if they're not giving anything, then I say, okay, maybe they don't want to share with me because maybe they're not trusting of me, or they're not that intimate into me, or why are they here? And it just begs a lot of questions.
Well, and I guess the good part, the positive part of this is, respecting boundaries or processing emotions, that you don't,
Mm-hmm.
just are overly dramatic and that kind of thing.
One point there, Silko. It could
Hmm.
be sometimes it's cultural how people communicate, and
Hmm.
particularly between the opposite sex. And there might be some things built into the culture, how you relate and when you start to express how you really feel. That could be a factor.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, good point. Here's another one that we've talked about before. You blame others and maybe him for your problems. That nothing is ever your fault. That you have no self responsibility.
That could be annoying. because you have to fess up. So many of us are not circumspect where it's always somebody else's fault. There's always
Yeah.
an excuse. It's never us. And that's why people run into, whether it's with relationships, a lot of times people end up with the same partner that didn't work out before because
Hmm.
they haven't come to terms with what their role has been in that type of relationship. And I think if you're sitting across the table from somebody who just they're never wrong and I'm always wrong, then that's going to be a problem
Hmm.
because that means they're not. I mean, I could be wrong a lot, but they're going to be wrong at some points also. And you want to be with somebody who can be accountable for their own actions and be responsible for their own feelings. Because there's also the game that's played intentionally or unintentionally where you made me feel this way.
Hmm.
Well, really, we can do things that can spark somebody, trigger somebody to feel a certain way, but ultimately, people have the choice as to how they're going to feel about something.
I think it's actually kind of sexy when somebody can admit that they were wrong. I mean, and I'm not talking about constantly doubt. We know what it says here,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, admit that you're wrong. I mean, that shows so much depth, and that you're actually thinking about
Mm-hmm.
something, thinking deeper than that. So, again, do you blame others for everything, or are you willing
Right.
and able to take responsibility? And now here, finally, Robert, this is the big one. You try to change him. Why do women tend to do that? And I'm pointing at myself also. I mean, I'm not trying to change Paul, but there's things about, well, we've been together so long now, but I know that there's things I try to change, and I'm thinking, why? He's never going to change. You just have to accept it.
Well, there's a difference between a fine line, Silka, between changing somebody and helping them improve. I
Hmm.
think any man worth his salt wants to be the best version of himself. And if you were with a trusted partner, you want to hear what she has to say in terms of what things you could do better. Now it becomes like an endless list of things that you do wrong. That can be, that could be kind of problematic because nobody
Hmm.
wants to feel like everything I do wrong. Nobody wants to feel that way, but when you try to change who the person is fundamentally, that's going to be a problem for both people because you have to understand that the person is who they are to a certain extent. Can they be tweaked? Can they improve? Of course they can, but you can't fundamentally change who the person is.
Hmm. I wonder if that's like a holdover from our generation, because it seems like women of our generation did that a lot, because you didn't speak up. It was just you just knew once you got married, that's when you change everything. That's when the relationship changes. I think that might be different now. I don't know. I guess we'd have to ask some younger people. But the whole change thing is, yeah, it's a big, big, big topic. And I guess what I want to say to that is, or I should ask you, is that men are pretty much what you see is what you get. It's not
Uh,
likely they're going to
to,
change.
to a certain extent. I think when you start cohabitating, then
Mm-hmm.
the logistics can change
Mm-hmm.
in terms of what they do and how they live. So you can get changes that way, but fundamentally, as to who they are and their value system, if that's not there to start with, that's going to be tough if it's a
Yeah.
mature adult that you're dealing with and you want to change how they value things or change really their overall personality and who they are and how they behave. That's a difference between putting the cap back on the toothpaste and then being faithful. There's two
Mm-hmm.
different
Yeah.
things there. So
Right.
logistics, I think, are you can change,
Mm-hmm.
but in terms of who they are, I don't know if that's going to change. You can change that.
Mhm. Uh, they close this here. I thought this was some good advice. They said, ask yourself. The way to best understand this is ask yourself how you would feel. If you have a way of doing things and done it all your life and done it good, now somebody tries to change it. I mean, just that question alone, gives you kind of the heebie-jeebies. No, I would be annoyed.
Mhm. Right.
So I don't know. It's an interesting topic. I thought it was worth
Mhm.
discussing, because every single one of these points I got a little bit of an aha out of. Is there anything, Robert, that we missed
Yeah.
here? What would you want to
Well,
add?
I would just say lead by example. I was thinking of the last point, and I know my wife, she's a fantastic cook, and she just like, I feel like making this, and she can figure out how to make it and make it. And then she'll keep trying if she realizes I didn't do do this right or do that right the way I wanted to. But I let her. Like,
Mhm.
she loves to cook and she loves food. It's like living in a restaurant. There's so many dishes in the sink. I figured either I'm going to clean them or she's going to clean them. So I figured I got to pitch in. So I see them in the sink. I just take care of it. Then I get criticized. Well, you didn't clean this good enough, whatever. That comes with the territory. But I figured you just have to, the point is you need to step up and be proactive. And that's the best way to change things is to contribute
Mhm.
and balance things out. Don't expect like you do all of this. Like, oh, you cook, so you clean up too, and I'll eat and watch TV. No, that's not how it works. It's got to be some give and take and balancing things out to make a partnership really work, in my opinion.
Right. No, I totally agree. Well, again, interesting topic. Robert, thank you. I always appreciate your time. As always, we will link to all of your information. Get the book. Great gift. It's that time of year. The Guys Guide to Love. And of course, your radio show on UK Health Radio, now all over the world. All links below. And Robert, thank you so much. And we'll see you next time on Second Act TV.
Thank you, Silka.